All right, gentlemen. Welcome back. How's it going, guys? How's your week?
It's good.
Good.
So I got a confession to make. When I am on my way here to do this every day, I've got like a 5-minute drive, so I have to choose the music I listen to, and it's got to be freaking powerful. It can't be like Bohemian Rhapsody with a slow roll. It can't be Stairway to Heaven. I don't have 11 minutes to listen to a song.
Yeah.
But I often am listening to music on the way in, and I'm singing on the top of my lungs trying to get my voice ready. But it got me thinking as I got out of the car, because I always turn it down as I pull into the suburban neighborhood, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. as I pull into your cul-de-sac, Dan, I'm like, I was thinking, what music was your seminal music in your formidable years? When you were a teenager and you were finally digging deep into shit that was not your parents' music. And you were really starting to get your own tastes, and it's colored your entire point. I'm not talking freaking Chumbawamba. We all heard that, but that's not our, like, seminal music,
As
right?
someone named Dan, fuck that song and everything about it.
Oh, Danny boy.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah, but what music were you listening to? What genre or artist or, like, give me anything here. Let people know who we are based on our musical preference.
I've always been a huge metal fan. So, like, and grunge. I fucking loved grunge. So, like, my formative years were Soundgarden.
And you were late to grunge, too. Right?
I was, yeah.
Grunge was already over when you got there.
But I was Soundgarden, I was Nirvana, I was Tea Party, but at the same time I was also really big into Tool, Marilyn Manson, those guys growing up. Which as the Christian guy on the podcast, it's a bit weird, but I did thoroughly enjoy it.
Marilyn Manson, particularly.
I was the main reason was Rage Against the Machine and Red Hot.
There are a surprising amount of Christian metalheads.
There are. There very much are, and there's some surprising amount of good Christian metal bands as well. But on the other hand, no,
I just looked at
for fuck's sakes, guys, there really, truly, honestly are. But I'm also a bass player. Like I am a musician, so like I would.
Yeah, you lean into that heavy sound.
I lean into the heavy sound.
Double bass, right?
So, like, I would bring my bass amp to school. We'd hook up a computer to it or a phone, and we would sit in the one corner of where we would hang out, and I would blare Marilyn Manson at 2:00 in the morning while people are taking their biology tests. It was great.
At 2:00 in the morning.
Sorry, 2:00 in the afternoon.
I gotta find this stupid thing.
All right, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say the same as Dan, but I did definitely go through various branches of metal and rock music. I did grunge a little bit. Went through punk for a long time.
I never got a punk phase. I never had a punk phase.
Well, typically I find that people will start with punk because it's simpler, technically, music-wise, and then sort of branch up into metal. But I was a massive Deftones fan. Still am.
Fair enough, yeah.
Actually, when we're thinking about it, I do have the word Misfits tattooed into my body.
You really do.
That I forget about because it's on a point of my arm that I can't see. And so I completely forget that tattoo's there until somebody says that word to me and I go, that was a strange word to say. I don't know why you said that. But yeah, so went through a metal phase. I also really love.
How many skulls do you have tattooed to you?
Six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got the big purple one and then the 5
Yeah.
little ones.
I got a big purple one.
Again, see a doctor.
Do you know
the goiter doesn't count.
Do you know what I love and I still love to this day is 90s hip hop. I think it is the best hip hop.
I agree with you 100%, but I don't. But I think it's only because it was seminal for me.
Maybe,
right.
But
No,
I think
agree.
like Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Biggie, like it's just kind of honestly it's shit these days. I don't like it. It's very rare that I like.
I'll go a little bit. I'll go a little bit deeper with you. I mean, I like the LL Cool J and the Busta Rhymes as well.
Yeah,
I'll go a little bit deeper with you. Name me your sex tape.
Dan, please. So, for me, I was 90s alternative, but I remember when Kurt Cobain died. I remember when Tupac. Yeah, but
I was 9.
I was listening to that music. I just barely listened to that music,
and that's when you didn't find out straight away.
Yeah, and
you found out
I remember being at school and like the older kids are crying, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out about it. And I'm like, "Wow, shit, that sucks. I'd better go listen to the other albums and really learn what this is."
Yeah.
I knew Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I knew. I mean, my favorite Nirvana song is "Man Who Sold the World," which is not even Nirvana, but it was just a cover.
Yeah,
right. But I don't know. I grew up on Green Day and Chili Peppers. And,
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
It was a good decade for music, man.
They're still so good as well. Do you know what's a good band people actually don't talk about enough for my liking around about that era was Placebo.
Placebo was underrated, definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
On the Cruel Intentions soundtrack, strangely enough.
Oh shit! Also a good movie.
Yeah, right. So
also good. Sarah Michelle Gellar, what's she doing now? Thank God for you, Sarah Michelle.
Being married to Freddie Prinze Jr.
Are they still married?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good for them.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Anyway, let's move on to the topic of the day. I was just curious about what you guys did for like music and where you came from. The other thing, I mean, that Dan and I didn't talk about is we're both big on classic rock.
Yes,
that was a huge part of my teenage years was Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones. Mm-hmm. I grew up on the Beatles.
Okay, I have a question. This is going to be a definitive question for everyone in this podcast. Beatles or Stones?
Stones.
Beatles.
Stones.
Why Beatles? I don't get it. I never got it.
I get it.
I don't.
I get why people like them. They have the most number one
why?
songs as anyone in history.
No. That's not it for me.
But
not even remotely.
Do you know why? I don't believe them. When they're saying whatever bullshit they're saying, but I don't believe it.
Fair
I
enough.
just feel like
I'm with you.
I feel like they're saying.
For me,
like
I
feel like the Beatles were the first hipsters.
I know what I will support you in that. I am a massive blues fan.
You didn't think it was Jerry Lee Lewis?
Oh fuck! Actually, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, good point.
Man, so much actually.
No, I'm a massive blues fan. So like,
I am too. But that's the thing is, I cut my teeth on "She's So Heavy." Right, I'm all about the bass line in something.
Yeah.
Right,
fair
like
enough.
I wanted that experimental Beatles. I'm not in it for I want to hold your hand. I don't give a fuck, man. Go pitch that shit somewhere else.
Yeah.
I want Maxwell Silverhammer. Right, I want the weird later
Beatles.
Yeah, that's where I came from, and then that naturally turned into Stones for me.
You're not here for paperback writer, so
not so much, no. But yeah, I wanted the experimental stuff, like A Day in the Life, right? The fact that they did that weird cacophony of noise in the middle of that song instead of nowhere, yeah, I'm in it.
Yeah,
she loves you, yeah, is not music to me.
Yeah,
right. That's girl music.
I think that's why I preferred the Stones because they
it was.
They always were authentic with everything they did, and I don't know, man. Like they pulled on my heart a lot more than the Beatles ever did. So
it's funny. I didn't really discover the Stones until later, early in my 20s, because I went from the Beatles to Floyd and Zeppelin. I did like a hard turn. Well, and then I went back and did the Stones and the Doors and shit.
I was a fairly straight-laced kid all the way through high school and everything else. And when I got out of high school, I spent some time abroad, and then I came back, and that's when I kind of hit that rebellious phase that everyone goes through.
Did you know that he was abroad for a short period of time?
Yeah, 4 months. Anyways, moving on. When I started smoking pot, I had a good friend of mine who was like, hey, you need to listen to the Beatles when you're high. I'm like, okay, cool. So I sat down and listened to it. I'm like,
drugs
still
are bad.
Don't get it.
Drugs are bad.
You may be in British Columbia now, but this episode mostly airs in the US, and they have to be 35 before they can smell a cigarette down there. So they're gonna get shot if you say the word pot.
Well, I don't do it anymore, Terry. God.
Well, you should. It's perfectly legal in Canada.
Anyways, so speaking about Canada.
Like, is that your segue? Like, fuck. All right. Anyway, we're doing Bullywugs.
What's that got to do with Canada, man?
It's going with frogs. I don't know.
Cut the music.
Welcome to It's a Mimic with your DMs, Adam, Dan, and Terry.
Welcome back to another episode of It's a Mimic. I am Adam. I'm your DM this week. Beside me, on my right is... You guys are doing the math, which is hilarious.
It's Terry.
I was like, looking at you, go, shit. Technically, I'm left if you go all the way around.
Yeah, but we're not reaching around, Terry. Just directly on my right is...
We're just a circle of jerks.
Are you waiting for me to say my own name?
Yes, I am.
I'm waiting for you to introduce me.
No, man, come on.
Hello.
Pimp your own shit.
Bonjour. My name is Terry.
And to my left is...
Dan. Have you been taking French classes?
Yeah, wait.
Oh, you actually have been?
Yeah.
Are you doing it for work?
I'm doing it because I was just sick of being such an ignorant Englishman and not knowing another language, and I was like,
French is easy.
I don't want to learn Spanish. There's no point in me learning the real French. I'll never use it here. We speak Quebecois, so...
You know what? As someone else who's learning the language right now, like I just love like the freaking doors it opens.
I prefer them to think that I'm already fluent in French, though. And now you just let them know that I'm just learning. And so we'll cut that out.
Anyone who speaks French could tell that you're just learning.
All right, so we're working on Bullywugs. I'm going to give you guys a quick breakdown, and then I want to talk about it. Bullywugs used to be a major mob in previous editions, and they've really been neutered. There's nothing on them now in 5th edition. However, they've got some really unique flavor that we don't get from any of the other mobs. Something you want to add, Dan?
You're calling the amphibians neutered and whatnot. I found that funny.
I don't know. Do people cut the penises off of frogs, Dan?
No, they're hermaphrodite.
Are they?
Yeah.
Frogs are? All
Yeah.
frogs or only some frogs? Are you basing all of your knowledge on Jurassic Park?
No, what? No. Based my knowledge off of actually having a Canadian education.
You nerd, you went to school. Anyways, bullywugs. It says right in the monster manual, you get like a half-page breakdown of what a bullywug is. These guys are angry and specifically evil. These are angry, evil little frogmen, but they're not that little.
They're not from Quebec.
No, but they're not that level. Little. In previous editions, they were small size. Now they're medium size, right? Which was surprising to me as I was doing the research on this. They're all about the swamp, and they think they own the swamp, and they've got a weird royalty, like a hierarchy, where they've got a royal bullywug. It's just, I think it's based on size more than anything else. I'm the biggest, so therefore I'm the king or the queen.
Yep.
And
it's also wealth. By like reading the flavor of them, like the wealthiest bullywug is the one who is the king or the queen.
Yeah, definitely big inferiority complex.
Yeah, I think that they may be biggest because they eat the most, because they have the...
Yep.
Anyway, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about really quickly, my favorite piece of lore about them is how the bullywugs advance in their society, and they do it by just bending over backwards and throwing themselves at the feet of their betters, of the royalty, of the leaders, and they will just beg and whimper and be the most pathetic thing ever to get in the favor of the royalty, or they will murder their freaking rivals, which is a lot of fun. If they get caught, they'll be executed, but murder amongst bullywugs is totally a thing.
Yeah.
Right? So it's...
Well, it feels kind of medieval, like almost Game of Thrones level of like posturing, and like you're over here dropping prostates to... sorry, that's
Prostate?
the wrong word.
Prostate?
That's the wrong word.
No, prostrate is right.
Prostrate.
Did you say prostate?
Worship.
That was the joke, Terry.
To worship the people above you, but on the other hand, you're sniveling and you're conniving and you're trying to get around to build your own reputation as much as you can. Like, freaking, I love bullywugs. Doing the research this week has been lots of fun.
Yeah, I love the fact that they've got. There's nothing that they love more. It says right in the book. There's nothing they love more than lording over those who trespass on their territories. So they've got like a warrior caste, I think. It doesn't get into it, but they say their warriors do this, right? There are different kinds of bullywugs, and it seems to be really open-ended in 5th edition about what kinds there are. And they like to impress their guests, the people trespassing, with how important and lovely they are. But all of the shit that they have, they've stolen from others in raiding parties and scavenging and whatnot, and they don't take very good care of it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, look at how great this worn leather glove is that
It's like the family wearing knockoff gear and all the bikes are in the front yard and the washing machine.
Yeah, right? But look at look, we have 3 washing machines.
But I got this fake Louis Vuitton purse.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
These knockoff boots.
I like the idea that they're going to ally themselves with other amphibians, specifically other frog-type creatures.
Yeah.
Even
though like one of them isn't quite like, it looks like a frog and it has a swallow mechanic and everything else, but it's not it's not where it's from.
Yeah, no,
it just takes that form.
Yeah, no, we'll get to it though. It's almost like these are not intelligent creatures, right? Their base intelligence of a regular bullywug is a 7. Right, so they got a -2 to this. They're not smart. If they see something if it looks like a frog and it sounds like a frog, it's frog. And if it's bigger than I am and it's got more intelligence, it's better than I am, and therefore I will bow down to it. Right? You know what? They feel like freaking Ferengis to me.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yes.
So they're gross. They're from like a wet area. They're conniving and scheming against each other all the time, and they're all about wealth, right? So. They're all amphibious, so they can breathe air and water. But again, it's swamp. We're not talking oceans or coasts or rivers necessarily. I mean, maybe the odd river, but mostly swampland and marshes. Every one of them can speak with frogs and toads. They are all able to camouflage in the swamp, which just gives them advantage on their stealth checks in swampy terrain. And the bullywug's long jump, they got a standing leap mechanic, where they can, from standing, jump 20 feet away and as high as 10 feet. This is all pretty standard frog stuff, right? What's interesting is that their challenge rating quarter, and they get a multi-attack, which you don't get a lot of at this level.
No.
Right? So they've got their they get a bite and a spear. And their spear is versatile as well. They can use it one-handed or two-handed. Right? Their bite mechanic is a whopping 1d4 plus 1 bludgeoning damage. Right? So there's not a whole lot going on to your basic Bullywug.
Their bite is bludgeoning?
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah, it's because they don't
have teeth.
no teeth.
They don't have teeth. So I absolutely love Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and one of the great things about it is they gave us 2 new kinds of Bullywugs. Up until this year, we only had the one.
Thank you, Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
Exactly. So here's the thing about the Croakers. The first one is that they have the ability to weave magic into their songs, which is why I wanted to start with talking about music, is because these are the bardic freaking Bullywugs.
I love the name of these abilities.
Oh, yeah, they're so much fun. And they've got an entire adventure around them, which is the danger at Dunwater. So if you have the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, or you're going to go out and pick it up, there's actually a really cool Bullywug, like, entire
centric
adventure around them. It's pretty short, but it's good too. But they say they are among the most pompous of Bullywugs. Their stats aren't really that much better across the board. They get a saving throw with con +3, which is good, and they've got a couple other minor mechanical things. They have all the basic monster features, but they have 2, and this is the best thing ever, they have 2
song
like
croaks.
Special attacks that they can do. One of them is called Glarpat. And it's when... And
One more time?
Glarpat.
Okay.
Yep. Where the Croaker sings a song of marshy doom up to 3 times a day. Each chosen creature within 30 feet of the Croaker that can hear the song needs to make a wisdom saving throw. It's low. It's a DC 12. You're probably going to pass it. But, I mean, we're talking a challenge rating 2. You put 3 or 4 of these down, someone's likely going to lose against it, right? Or you're going to take 2d8 psychic damage, which is amazing for how low level it is that we're seeing psychic damage. So I'm assuming that this just hurts your soul. It's a gloomy Glarpat.
Yeah, it's like this dreary song of dread.
Yep. And then the other one, which is even better, is Ruglog.
One more time.
Ruglog.
This is awful.
Yeah, right? I want to, if I'm going to do a Bullywug campaign, I'm going to just like double, triple, quadruple track my voice doing this and then play it for people. So there's just like a cacophony of noises here. But this one is the Croaker sings an ode to an elder froghemoth. And it just gives everybody else, all Bullywugs within 30 feet, 10 additional temporary hit points. So, yeah, so it actually heals them up, which is pretty significant.
That's significant because they have like the base one has 18 hit points or something like that. Base.
11, 2d8 plus 2.
You're doubling
You're
their hit
doubling.
point.
Yeah.
Right there.
So the other one that we get is the Bullywug Royal. It says that they're even bigger, which is cool, but mechanically they're still medium. These sneering specimens dress in robes made from leather, rough cloth, and bits of marsh plants. Like, these guys are gross. They're dirty, they're nasty, they're swampy creatures. We have even better stats here. The intelligence is a whopping 10.
Ooh.
So
They can
Average
carry a
intelligence.
conversation if they understood common.
which
they don't.
Which they don't. Do they? No, they don't. None of them do. They only speak Bullywug.
Yeah.
So they get Royal Spear as an attack, and this one does 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage, or 12 or 2d8 plus 3 piercing.
I
if
wanted
it uses
to-
both hands. Hold on. If the target is medium or smaller, they're going to get knocked prone.
I wanted to ask, is the Royal Spear the way they use the spear, or is the item itself the Royal Spear? And thus, if you kill one of these things and pick up a Royal Spear, do you get a spear that does 2d8 damage and
No.
that can knock over prone things?
No, because this is used in a multi-attack with things like Bite, Claw, Hoof, Ram, right? These are...
Is it? Do they have multi-attack?
Yeah, they have multi-attack. Every Bullywug has multi-attack.
Okay.
But because multi-attack is traditionally with other verbs and not nouns, I would say... Actually, you know what? You can make an argument. There are like longsword attacks and short bow attacks.
Yeah.
I would call this...
Because if you have a spear that does 2d8 Like, make it like a versatile spear that does 2d8 damage if you're using it two-handed. Woof. That is your most powerful melee weapon in any campaign.
The reason I would say no to that is I don't think the Bullywugs have the technology or the magical capabilities to create a spear that does 2d8 damage.
Also, we're talking CR3.
Yeah. Over what? Elves?
Well, the Royal is CR7, isn't he?
Nope, CR3.
All right, well.
So here's the thing about the spear as well. It's knocking prone. How do you knock someone prone with a spear? With just a awesome spear that's not magical. You do it by actually tripping them and having a technique. Yeah. Therefore, I'm calling it a maneuver and not an
cool.
item.
Yep, no, I'm with you.
They also get a croaked decree. The royal makes a loud pronouncement, and each bullywug within 60 feet of the royal that can hear the pronouncement has advantage on the next attack roll. You know what? Honestly, so far, these bullywugs they're not overwhelming me at all. That's it. That's all of what we have.
You got to be clever with it.
Okay, so the one thing I would do, like, we name these things mob mentality. Like, you throw away mob bullywugs and their abilities bolster mobs. Their abilities are focused on mobs.
Right. And
run them as large
groups.
And
that brings me to my question. How would you use a bullywug?
Oh, I know.
And encounters. So let's roll initiative on this, Dan, before you freaking blow your load all over the place.
Thank you, Daniel. Fuck you, Adam. So the folks at home, I rolled initially, I think it was a 4.
Yeah.
And Dan knocked my die up to
an
14 or an 18 or something, and Adam knocked it back down to a 4. So
I'm very happy.
So I gotta go first. Yeah. So use them as mobs.
Yes.
Like large groups of bullywugs. These things are...
What tier are we talking?
Man, like, I would have small groups of scouts that are like a choker and 4 bullywugs.
A croaker, not a choker.
Sorry, yeah, a croaker.
Joker, I don't even know her.
Hey!
I don't get it.
But I will eventually. Carry on.
I would use
you go through her possessions?
I would use a croaker and like 4 of the normal bullywugs. The croaker could be riding a giant frog as well, and these are all going to be like late
just
first tier.
Just focus on bullywugs only.
Yeah, well,
don't talk about their allies yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I would have these in very low tier, just as scouting groups, and as you push yourself into their domain, you're probably meeting your higher end, your royals, late first tier, early second tier. Like they're not a lot of power to these guys, but they are your doorway to other allies that we'll talk about later that are more powerful.
Right, so let's just focus on an encounter.
Yeah.
So build an encounter with bullywugs only.
And I'm saying I would run like a croaker and 4 or 6 other bullywugs that jump the party when they are in the middle of the swamp, making their way through. They jump them. They knock them out. They're not there to kill. They want to brag. They want to show their stuff off, and they want to capture. So, knock them out, capture, bring the party to the royal, who sits there and babbles at them in Bullywug because he doesn't speak common, and then you have a really fun social encounter, a fun role-playing encounter, where your party's trying to have a discussion. This is actually something that happens in Tomb of Annihilation, just with the other ones, grungs. Happens with the other frog type things of grungs, where you are in a grung court and you are trying to talk to a grung nobleman. And the only reason why they're grungs and not bullywugs is because you're in a jungle and not a swamp.
Yeah, I know that grungs... Do grungs swing evil?
Grungs swing evil.
Yeah, but I feel like bullywugs are... They're almost comedic.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Right? I mean, as much as they're not, and they're evil, and they're actually kind of dangerous in big numbers, and you're in swamplands, these things are going to drown you. Right? That's a major factor as well. I feel like we're getting some comedy out of them bowing down. They're scary enemies, but then the moment the roleplay happens, they're pathetically hilarious. Right? That's kind of where they're...
Yep,
Okay.
Adam, you're next.
Well, like I said, if I'm going to... First of all, I've got 2 thoughts in this one. I want them to have raiding parties to nearby villages. I don't want them being opportunistic for people coming through the swamp. I want them to be proactive. I want them hitting nearby villages and raiding all of the loot. When the these are my Ewoks in a swamp, right? And when the nobles come in or when the knights come in to stop them, whatever it is, they raid the knights. They wait until late at night, and you hear, the frog sounds, the croaking in the swamp and whatnot. As you're looking around, you never see them because they're all underwater, and they've all got this advantage on stealth checks. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, they pop up, they steal all your shit, they incapacitate you, and they go off again. I like them as thieves, and I like them. They're not going to burn down huts. They're not orcs. They're not going to murder people. No. They're not gnolls.
I just had a really good idea with them, but I'll wait.
Yeah, no. Go on,
well, my life has been horror campaigns and horror level things right now, so I would use these as.
Are you getting sick of paying for it?
Pardon?
What?
Not horror. Horror.
It sounds very much the same the way you say it.
I am trying to add that extra roar. But anyways.
It's horror.
Anyways.
Horror.
Say terror. Just
terror.
From now on, you just use the word terror.
Terror
campaigns.
Yeah, but then everyone's going to
say
the
word mirror.
terror.
Say mirror.
Mirror.
Jesus Christ.
Fuck. I'm Canadian too, and this pisses me off.
Anyone who thinks Canadians can't speak probably need to take a long look in the mirror. See, I can't even say mirror. Mirror.
Anyways, I would use them as I would use them in a horror campaign where they are, they're not exactly intelligent by their base stats, but I would use them to add a lot of ambience to an encounter where they're off on the sides in the shadows, skulking in the shadows, croaking low, and like making these ominous frog noises as you're making your way through some sort of wilderness or even inside of a town, right? And it's, you hear a couple frog bleats over here.
If you get some new players that have never seen a Bullywug before, right? And you start talking about the deadly frogman of the swamp, and then you start to hear these
Dan, I'm annoyed with you because it was my turn and you took a second turn and that was my idea.
Okay, sorry.
I do not think that they're taking... No, it's a great idea, but I'm going to do mine here. I don't think that Bullywugs are taken seriously enough, and I don't think that's why they're used enough, because we lean into this comedic thing. I started thinking about swamps and started thinking about Never Ending Story, Swamp of Sadness, and started thinking about how we can make it more horror-like, because I too like the horror type things. And I was thinking about low croaks. Horror. Yeah.
All right.
Horror, mirror, terror.
None of us can say this properly.
And there's not any of those words.
Scary campaigns.
Yeah. But like the low, I just imagine the low off in the distance, and that kind of echoes across the swamp. I think this should be used as, and I think in the D&D world, there should be stories told to children about the Bullywug frogmen that will come and drag you into the tunnels in the swamp.
I think if you call them frogmen, then you're going to get a scarier side of it. You can lean into the fright aspect. See how I'm not saying the words, guys?
Yeah.
You lean into the fright aspect of it. Whereas if you call them Bullywugs, you're hitting the comedy aspect.
Right. I 100% agree. But your original question is how would I use them in an encounter?
Yeah.
I think the mechanics of these mobs are often overlooked. They have a 20-foot long jump and a 10-foot high jump. So you're not hitting these things because they're jumping over you. They're literally leapfrogging over you. So if they want to stay out of your way, they could throw their spears and there'd just be a fucking nightmare to hit. By the way, they're coming in and out of the water. And I think
you're using hand motions, no one can see it.
I'm using a leapfrog type motion that again could be argued as dolphins. But what I'm saying is if you just do it as
the one
you come in and they just make their attack and then they stay there, that's just not using their mechanics properly. No, they can jump over you. They can attack you and jump over you back to the water. They can avoid attacks of opportunity.
Remember, this is 5th edition where you can attack in the middle of a move if you really wanted to.
Yep.
Right? So do the jump, mid-jump, spike the dude, land away, and then
land in the swamp.
Land in the swamp, pick up the next spear.
Pick up the next spear and come back up. By the way, you have 40 feet of movement. I know they don't have a high intelligence. The argument would be, well, they don't have a high intelligence. No, but they've lived there for a long time, and they know what works for them. They still have tactics.
Right, but knowing your surroundings is wisdom, right? Yeah. It's not intelligence.
Exactly, because you could say, well, wolves don't have high intelligence.
But they have pack tactics.
Yeah, but they have pack tactics, and they know how to hunt, and so do Bullywugs.
Yep. So, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think, frankly... If you can surround a player with 8 Bullywugs, then you are rolling, I would say, 4 grapple checks with advantage against this player. You've got a really good chance, even with their low stats, you got a really good chance of grabbing them and dragging them underwater.
Yeah.
We're talking overwhelming numbers. And more so than for goblins or for orcs, like we've talked about in the past, Bullywugs will rely on this.
And they have a swim speed of 40 feet. So if they're dragging someone, let's say count as difficult terrain, 20 feet, they're still going to be moving faster than most of the party.
And it's a swamp. I'm going to say that the majority of that water is not going to, you're not going to be able to see through it, right? It's going to act as an opaque
You have no
liquid.
idea where they've gone. Your party member is disappeared, like being dragged by a crocodile into the water. They're gone.
Which then leads into my complaint about breath mechanics and drowning mechanics, but we can get into that another time. Anyway, let's cut to a commercial, and then we can move on to some of these allies that Dan keeps talking about. So, commercial time.
This episode is brought to you by WildBot3D.com. Condition markers, spell trackers, AoE templates, scatter terrain, and much more. Proudly made in Georgia and personally packaged and shipped worldwide. That's WildBot3D, your home for quality 3D printed tabletop gaming accessories and terrain. Visit WildBot3D.com to purchase your new favorite accessories today. WildBot3D.com. Wildbot.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to refrain from starting off with, and we're back, like we do in every single one.
Well, how would they know that we're back?
By listening. Anyways, so let's talk a little bit about allies. There are a handful of frog and toad type creatures. And just really quickly, I want to talk about the difference between do you guys know the difference between a frog and a toad? At all?
One can't leap, but
Nope.
waddles.
No.
No?
No.
Is it the texture of skin?
That's one of them. So let me go through. There are a couple of ways to tell. Both frogs and toads begin life as tadpole in water, but they've got very different habitats. Frogs live in water like ponds, lakes, and streams, but toads live on land and are found in fields, gardens, and forests. Their eyes are different. A frog's eyes bulge out top of their head like you're picturing, whereas a toad's eyes are really like it's set into their head, and they've got a weird like football shape iris to them.
Ooh.
Yep. Frogs have long legs that are kind of spindly, the back legs that help them leap further.
Yeah.
Whereas toads have squat and more powerful muscular legs. They both have long sticky tongues, but a toad's tongue is shorter, which means that they actually have a better. You'd think that because they have less reach, they're not able to go quite as far, but they have a longer because it's shorter, they have better accuracy because they're closer to the bugs themselves.
So it's not about the size; it's what they do with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
That was totally inappropriate.
Hey.
There's also the
Forgive
skin.
me.
I won't though. Nor will I forget.
I feel like I want to choke myself on this D20.
Frog skin is slimy. Toad skin is bumpy.
Yeah.
I think this is really cool and important for D&D flavor. And then the last thing is frogs have freaking teeth. Even though bullywugs do bludgeoning damage, frogs have teeth. They're very small and it's only on the top.
I feel like that's because whoever created the bullywug in the game didn't know that frogs have teeth, and it's just held true.
So anyway, I think that's kind of fun to know. I had an opportunity to learn you some infos, so I decided to get on that.
Nice.
Let's
Thanks,
roll.
Squirrely Dan.
We each. You are Squirrely Dan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we each grabbed a different ally. I grabbed a bunch of the little shit, but let's roll for initiative. See who's going to talk first about who a bullywug allies with.
Sure.
Natural 20 hits
Fuck
to a 15.
you.
17.
Fuck you, running bud.
Please don't. That's disgusting, and it makes me uncomfortable, Daniel.
That would be very difficult to
All right. You know what? I think that it's good that we're going in this order. We're going from tiny beasts all the way up to the monstrosity that
fair
Terry
enough,
has.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't call it a monstrosity, but I've never had any complaints.
well, it's the 3 eyes that's weird.
And the 4 tentacles. Seriously, both of you need to see a doctor.
So first of all, I'm going to start off with the obvious frog. This is a tiny beast. It literally has. How did I?
thought there was going to be another word.
We're going to do allies for the bullywugs. First thing,
This is going to be a
Frogs.
thrilling episode.
Yeah.
Bullywugs ally with frogs.
If you guys would shut the fuck up, it could be. Anyway, so frogs. Now, my favorite thing about frogs is that I've actually played one in a D&D campaign. Terry turned me into one.
I'm playing one in another type of campaign right now.
That's weird and wrong. So frogs actually have an AC of 11 because they're so tiny. They've got just shit stats across the board, except their dex, which is pretty good, as you would expect. They're really good at stealth, considering they're CR 0. They've got their standing leap, much like the Bullywug, but it's half as much, 10 feet at high, or 10 feet long and 5 feet high. And they have no effective attacks. They feed on small insects and typically dwell near water, trees, or the underground, and their stats can represent a toad. That's all there is on frogs. And while you may think that this is relatively useless, how about a swarm of these motherfuckers? Right? What if you rain frogs?
I think that's why they're in. For a plague of frogs, that's why they're in.
Also polymorph.
Yeah.
I got polymorphed into a frog, right?
Also a plague of frogs.
What did I say?
Dan said plague, as though it's spelled with an E.
Are we really? Are we going this path? Are we gonna?
Voice.
It's pronounced plage of frogs. Anyway, so I like these frogs and toads as harbingers of bullywugs. When we talk about exploration and we're seeing kind of what else is out there and signs of bullywug environments and civilizations, frogs and toads need to be there first, right? And yes, Daniel. What are you clapping about?
Keep going.
You're a piece of shit.
Okay, no, what I'm saying is, using them as a sign, you actually give me a really cool idea. As a DM, have your party, if you are using them as a sign, don't just put them on the path. Don't just put them, around the party. Literally have one jump. Just a standard frog, CR0, no one gives a shit about it.
Lands on their shoulder.
Literally landed on their shoulder or something, right? And that will be the thing that draws your players' attention. If you say there are frogs on the path, that's kind of boring, bland. Move on from that, right? But
what about tree frogs, man? You're in a swamp and the trees are full of frogs.
Yeah, okay. Having one land on your wizard or whatever, the squeamish person in your party is. I don't know, man. I just love making your party squirm like that.
Yeah, frogs aren't squirmy to me, but I like that. I was like the idea of maybe it's a toad and now you get a wart. Mm-hmm. And now you need greater restoration, bitches. Anyway, so the next one that I was going to cover was giant frogs. These are actually medium beasts. These things are
giant frogs.
They're giant frogs, but you think that your dog is a small creature. These things are big. They're going to eat your freaking dog. They've got better stats. They're CR 1/4. They've got a bite attack, but their bite, if they hit, also grapples. And the target is then restrained. They can also automatically swallow any creature that is small or smaller. So there goes your familiars and your pets and your halflings.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So these things could just out of the blue. And again, they're CR 1/4. You can hit them with 10 of these.
They automatically swallow? The
frog makes one bite attack against a smaller target that it is grappling. So they've got it and it's grappled with the tongue. If the attack hits, the target is swallowed and the grapple ends.
Okay, so
that
round the 1 they've got to grab it. So round the 2 they swallow it. Okay, so
and then you're taking the acid damage inside. And I mean this is low damage, but it's really cool way to freak out people in tier 1, right?
Especially those new players where it's oh fuck, what's happening?
Yeah, what does that mean?
The second you bring swallowing into the game, you're going to bring the restrained attack and what that means for your player inside. Can they attack the inside of the turtle? Or the inside of the frog?
The turtle.
Just move on. Frog.
I'm not going to move on, Dan. That was a shell of a mistake.
Turtles would never be in trees jumping on shoulders.
And we're actually going to do an episode about the difference between turtles and tortoises at another time as well.
Okay, cool.
But for now...
More biology with Adam.
Yeah. So we will have dragon turtles at some point.
Terry is super enthused by this idea.
So anyway, Terry just doesn't like to learn.
All this learning.
Can they hit on the inside? Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, you a freaking auto hit. How do you miss?
Well, restrain gives you disadvantage on the attack. I would say you miss.
No. Restrained is you don't move.
might be grappled that gives you disadvantage on that attack.
And you are no longer grappled once you've been swallowed.
Okay, cool. So you just straight up can swing your greatsword through the inside of a frog.
Yeah, man, why the fuck not? Right? You're going to auto hit. This thing's going to swallow you. I don't see any reason why you can't just, like, stab your way out. But then beyond that is the giant toad, who is exactly the freaking same, except it's a CR1 because it has better stats. And they're large. So these things are mounts. I wouldn't have a giant frog be a mount, but a giant toad. And the giant toads are going to be on land as well, right? So it's funny. They've got the same speed as a bullywug does, but they're just mounted for some reason.
Oh, for the prestige.
And I think that's exactly what it is. What do you got for restrained?
Restrained is attack rolls against the creature who is restrained have advantage.
Yep.
All right, cool.
So, but you don't move, right? That's the thing?
Yeah.
Your speed is 0?
Yeah.
So there we go. That's it. Those are the frog beasts that exist, or the toad beasts. These are your amphibians that the bullywugs will have. I think that these things need to be really cool tier 1 surprise threats. Like, you're looking for frogmen and a giant toad is sitting in the middle of the road, right? And as much as you've been dealing with frogs and toads for the last day, and it's kind of annoying, and you're tired of hearing your DM go, brah, brah, over and over again, or whatever noise they're making. Fromp.
The giant toad should go, now don't freak out.
But you've got this, and they're going to come up to this toad and be like, well, is that the frogman? It's this large creature. Is this what we're dealing with? The size of a horse. And it just opens its mouth, it flips out its tongue, and hits you and swallows you, and now you are inside a toad. Right? I just think that's kind of neat. All right, Dan, you are next. What do we got? Let's go bigger.
Next biggest on the list here is a large monstrosity, birthed by hags and dark magic.
Well, we're still talking swamps. I love it. It makes sense.
Yep. This creature is a hybrid of shadow. It is and flesh. It is a hunter. It is a hitman. It is big. It's ugly. I'm talking about one of my favorite monsters, the Vanderhoff. I freaking love this thing.
The Vanderhoff.
The Vanderhoff. I would like.
Isn't that a freaking Black Mirror episode?
It sounds like a really
that's Bandersnatch, and that is from.
Never mind. I'm bailing on this conversation. Keep going.
But so the Vanderhoff is a created hitman that hags and powerful wizards, whether they be mortal or not, have created in order to hunt down and seek out foes to take. They have a frog-like appearance, and that's where their frog-like behavior kind of ends. They do have a swallow, but for the most part, they
like a small bird?
No, like an actual swallow mechanic.
Okay.
But they have a very different approach to them when it comes to their frog-like behavior and how they operate during combat. Because they are born of shadow and flesh, they are inherently stealthy. They're immensely, they are immensely evil, and they can move throughout the battlefield like no one else. Let's get down to the mechanics of them. They have at 20 strength, 20
But
con.
can they move through? They've got a speed of 30 feet.
They've got a speed of 30 feet, but they've also got flip the page too far. They've also got this ability to teleport. They've got their shadow stealth, which, while in dim light or darkness, they can take the hide action as a bonus action.
They feel really roguish to me.
They are incredibly roguish. So just right off the bat, they got AC 15. They got 84 hit points. These things are CR 5. By themselves, they're fairly beefy. They move 30 feet. They've got 20 strength, 20 con, 14 wisdom. They are, by and large, more statistically powerful than even your greatest bullywug. But they are a creation of magic. They are an amalgamation of need and hatred at this point. So the Vanderhoff, its entire existence is to hunt down the task that its creator sent it to, and when it's done, it will disappear into the Shadowfell or have another mission, anything else. And they mechanize this with this resonant connection. The creator, the Vanderhoff, has the creator of the Vanderhoff will most likely give it, but the Vanderhoff has a tiny piece of a creature or an object in his possession, such as a lock of hair or a splinter of wood, and it knows the most direct route to that creature at any point in time, as long as it's within a mile.
This feels almost like a frog revenant to me.
It very much so, yeah. Well, again, it's got the shadow stealth, and then its actions are hilarious in and of itself. It has its bite, which does a massive amount of damage, both piercing. It does the piercing damage of 5d6 plus 5 for a bite attack. At a CR5, that's a massive hit. And then you are immediately grappled if you are large size or smaller.
Which you will be. Even with the large,
but
you are large size.
This thing is grappling things that are equal size as it.
Yep.
Which it will eat your horse.
Yeah, and you're restrained, right? And you can't...
Yep. And, of course, if it grapples you in this way, it can't use its bite or tongue attack on another target,
Sure.
right?
This is standard for all the bites that we've talked about so far.
It also has a 15-foot reach tongue attack.
So do I.
Which hits one creature for 3d6 necrotic damage.
Mine's all psychic damage.
And then the target makes a strength saving throw, and on that save, it is pulled within 5 feet of the Vanderhoff, which then can use a bonus action to bite it.
And grapple it.
And because of that bite attack, grapple it.
Good lord. That's powerful.
The Vanderhoff then can swallow, much the same way the giant frog and giant toad can, where it makes another bite attack of a target it has grappled. If it hits, it's swallowed. The swallowed creature is blinded and restrained. That's where the disadvantage on attacks is. You are blinded. You have disadvantage on attacks when you're blinded. So when you're inside, you have disadvantage on attacks against the thing inside because you're blind.
You're right.
Yeah, that's where it was.
You know what?
It just feels a bit like, how are you going to miss with your crossbow?
I feel like I'm just going to give you an auto hit from the inside.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
So you take 3d6 necrotic damage at the start of each of the Vanderhoff's turns if you are inside of it. And the Vanderhoff can only have one creature swallowed at this time. Now, the thing I love about the Vanderhoff, it's going to grab its prey, it's going to bite it and grapple it on one turn, it's going to swallow it the next, and then the turn after that, it can magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space of dim light or darkness.
None of this is a recharge ability. So it can do any of the shit at will.
Yep.
It can start with the tongue attack every freaking round until it works.
And the thing I love the most about the Vanderhoff is you could start with the Shadow Step, and if you take that 30-foot teleport, before or after teleporting, doesn't even matter, it can make the bite or tongue attack. So, you jump as your action, you teleport in 30 feet, you hit the thing with the tongue, it then moves within 5 feet because it fails its strength save, and then you bite it in one turn.
Yeah, the next turn you
swallow it
and fuck off.
And fuck off.
I'm into it.
Using your bonus action to hide in the
Love
swamp,
it.
and then you're never being found because you are...
Fucking love that. And you got enough hit points where you're going to survive that round.
Yeah. Now, the one interesting little thing I put in, because these things are innately magical, and this is just a little bit of flavor that I put in it when I've used these things in my campaign, I've given these guys mimicry. They don't speak. It very specifically says they do not speak or anything else. But having these guys off in the woods, embrace the horror of that, and have them just help. These things make the sound of people bleeding.
Finally seeing it, and it still goes, help.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, fuck.
And then like a velociraptor, the one from the side hits you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm into it.
Yeah. I freaking love Vanderhoffs. They're one of my favorite animals. And then I would just throw frogs in with them. Not because they are innately froggy and like the frogs follow them around, but because why not? Like add the flavor to them.
As much as it's hags, I can totally see a couple of Bullywug royals with the magical item creating these things and using them against their enemies. Now, especially because the Bullywugs fight in and amongst themselves, right?
Well, I talk about random encounters as well. It doesn't just have to be for some reason there's one standing in the middle of the road. If you're seeing frogs and giant toads around, that Vanderhoff, that could be that Vanderhoff's food. You're coming across that creature feasting on the giant toads, and you've just walked into its meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
The one last thing I want to mention about the Vanderhoff before I move on is, in the description of them, throw in this little tidbit of information that I absolutely love, where I'm just going to read it. In the earliest days of the world, they're birthed by night hags, which we know, where they devised the ritual that led to the creation of the first Vanderhoff. A hag that knows the ritual might be willing to teach it for the right price. Some other dark fae or powerful fiends also know the process, as do few mortal mages. Instructions might also be found on a tome devoted to debased wizardry. They have put in the lore, in the flavor of this, a way for you to give your players the ability to summon one of these things, or have your evil wizard summon them. But like the ability to teach this as a ritual, to summon the Vanderhoff. And then you figure out what the material components is as flavor. Like,
I would absolutely never, ever, ever do that until the party is level 17.
Oh yeah, no, they have to be higher level for that. And it probably in an evil campaign, because these things are horribly innately evil. They're created solely to hunt out an object and kill it. So, yeah, that's me. Vanderhoffs.
Man, well, I was into that. That leaves me. I have the Froghemoth. Okay, first of all, these things are terrifying, and I'll just be honest. I know sometimes you guys like to put jokes and stuff in your campaigns. I hate stupid names, and the Froghemoth is a fucking stupid name, and instantly stops it from being scary for me, even though it actually is terrifying. Okay?
Do you think the GH in Froghemoth can actually be pronounced like an F? It could be a Froghemoth.
Froghemoth?
A Froghemoth.
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 No, it's Froghemoth.
Anyway,
Dan is wrong.
No, for me, these things are like, they are a shoehorned Cthulhu, like...
Whoa, I'll tell you what they are.
Okay.
Yeah. Shut up,
Can you
Daniel.
believe this guy?
Yes.
Okay, Froghemoth is an amphibious predator, as big as an elephant. Its lairs in swamps and has 4 tentacles, which is interesting, and a thick rubbery hide. A fang-filled maw. What's strange about these creatures is that they are otherworldly. And in the lore, and I have researched this, it's not clear where they came from. There is a story that they appeared out of giant cylinders, but it's never been proven to be true, and also where they came from and what the cylinders were, it's not known. They're hungry from birth. Every few years, a Froghemoth can lay a fertile egg without even mating, but the Froghemoth cares nothing for the egg and is likely to eat the hatchling. If a Bullywug tribe or an individual Bullywug comes across a Froghemoth, they treat the Froghemoth as a god and will try and coax the Froghemoth to come into their lair, which to me seems like about the stupidest idea you could ever come up with ever. They will actually try and get it to enter their lair and convince it to work, that, you know, they're going to praise it and to be on their side. And they can eventually convince them to do that, but only once they've eaten a few Bullywugs along the way. But for me, that just seems crazy. But let's go on, Dan.
The other little thing I love about them is...
these things are huge.
They're huge. They're terrifying. What's their challenge
They're
rating?
unaligned. Oh, their challenge rating is 10.
They're CR 10. And they will often happily join a Bullywug lair.
They can communicate with them on a basic level as well.
On a basic level, and they'll just sit there and they'll be okay as long as they keep on getting things to eat.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that these things are cosmic horror level villains that have just been like shoved into the D&D world and kind of made ridiculous.
But they're like otherworldly.
They've got these
somewhere off.
They're from somewhere
in the
off.
multiverse.
You kind of briefly glossed over the fact that there's the lore that they were found in metal cylinders in the earth and birthed from those. That no one knows where these metal cylinders are from.
Or even if that's true.
But I love the fact that these things are like cosmic horrors that have been thrown on the land. And
yeah.
I feel like
some Stranger Things
like a star spawn is going to show up and just be like, oh, that's where we left them.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like a mind flare is going to be like, oh, we saw those on that other planet.
Yeah.
Just to get into their stats a little bit, obviously they're huge, so they're incredibly strong. They have a strength 23, dex 13, con is 20, and that's the general rule. Like the bigger it is, the higher con it's going to get.
Yep.
Intelligence, any guesses?
6.
2. Intelligence of 2.
Wolf.
But
This thing is as smart as the horse it's
But here's the strange thing. Oddly, intelligence of 2, wisdom 12. I don't know.
Right, well, okay, because wisdom is mislabeled in 5th edition. Wisdom is about how well you interact with the natural world. It's survival, it's perception, it's not how wise you are. And that's the problem with it. I feel like this needs to be renamed to awareness.
Yeah.
Intuition.
Yeah, instinct. Right? And
Instinct,
whereas the...
intuition could be more insight-based.
Yeah, I feel like intuition could almost be more charismatic.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah. So, they're amphibious. Obviously, the froghemoth can breathe air and water. They have shock susceptibility. So, if a froghemoth takes lightning damage, it suffers several effects until the end of its next turn. Its speed is halved. It takes a -2 penalty to AC and dexterity saving throws. It cannot use reactions or multi-attack on its turn. And on its turn, it can either use an action or a bonus action, or both. It's essentially slowed, right?
Yeah.
And it has a penalty to its AC.
What happens when you strike a toad with lightning?
Same thing as everything else. I hate this about this. Well, I'll get into it in a minute.
Yeah, right.
The reason I don't like these type of effects, and yes, I understand why they're good, it's just asking for metagaming. It's just asking for Dan, who's played D&D for 25 years, who knows the froghemoth stats, to cast Lightning Bolt immediately.
Yep.
But, you can't blame Dan for doing that.
Well, I absolutely can. I can say, you have started with the level 3 spell Fireball for every encounter. And this one you're using Lightning Bolt. There's only one creature, so you're not getting your 100-foot line here.
Yeah.
So explain to me why you are using Lightning Bolt now. Convince me, or we'll skip your turn and you can come up with a better reason after.
Yeah.
Right? I have no problem doing that for metagaming.
Yeah, metagaming is...
Frankly, if you're DM at a table with people that are going to do that, just give them that info anyway and drop 2 froghemoths on them.
Yeah.
Right? There's a sage in the woods that is going to tell you they're susceptible to lightning, use your lightning.
Yeah, and you'll get it out with... Dan's played for a long time. Here's the thing about people who play D&D for a long time. They're braggers. They will brag that they know everything about everything, and they will tell you already that they know about this situation with the froghemoth. I'm staring Dan. Dan's a lovely person.
I fucking Dan right now.
But Dan won't be able to hold it in that he doesn't know this information, so he will give Lightning Bolt and say, that's because they've got shock susceptibility.
1, fuck you both. 2, this is a CR10 creature that can be defeated with a cantrip. Like, you throw...
It can be neutered with a cantrip.
It can be significantly neutered with a cantrip. You throw Lightning Lure from Sword Coast Adventures Guide at this thing. It is a cantrip that creates a lash of lightning energy that hits a target within range, which is 15 feet. So you get close to it, that's the danger of this thing. But you are engaging that with a spell that doesn't run out.
Yeah. But again, it's the same question, but for a different reason. It'd be, this thing is a huge monstrosity that's standing in front of you. Why have you decided to use a cantrip against it?
Yeah, and also, on top of that, though, to counteract that, they're also resistant to lightning. So whatever damage you're doing with this, is you're not taking a whole bunch.
You're just doing
That's
it
true.
for the...
That's true. They are resistant to lightning.
And they've got a fuck ton of hit points.
They do have a fuck ton of hit points. They have, if you want to go with their average hit points, they have 184, or 16d12 plus 80. For their actions, go down.
No, I was going to say, do people actually run the average hit points on things?
Man, I don't. I do max hit points all the time.
I do max hit points all the time. Yeah, everyone's a superhero. Do max hit points. What are you doing? It's basic math.
I used to roll the die. I would do the 16d12 plus...
You'd actually do the math?
Plus 80. When I first started DMing, yeah. Because I thought it was... when you don't know... Like, I thought that's what we were expected to do as DMs. I thought that was being fair, was to roll it.
If you want the thing to die fast and you want this combat to be over, run its average that is posted on the thing. If you want to do way too much work, roll the individual hit points. If you want to just have a quick number, just run max, man. Like,
see, the other thing that I do is I'll do minimum hit points. So where you've got your 16d12 plus 80. So that's 16 plus 80. So 96 hit points. This thing was wounded when you came upon it.
Yeah,
Or it's
that's fair. Yeah.
younger or something. Yeah.
Right. So I'm also totally not above just beefing them and timesing it all by 2. And here you go, have a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, multi-attack, the froghemoth makes 2 attacks with its tentacles. It can also use its tongue or bites. Okay, so here's the tentacles, okay?
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced tentacles.
No,
Is it Greek?
tentacles.
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 Continue, Terry.
It's not going to bother me because my mind is fucking bulletproof. All right? So,
We both
unless
know
Dan
that's not true.
coughs or interrupts me.
Yep.
Already we know that's not true. So for the tentacle, melee weapon attack plus 10 to hit, reach 20 feet, damage is 19 or 3d8 plus 6, bludgeoning damage, and the target is grappled. Escape is DC 16. If it is huge or a smaller creature, so the same size as it or smaller, until the grapple ends, the Froghemoth can't use the tentacle on another target. The Froghemoth has 4 tentacles.
Yeah.
And it makes 2 attacks with them. The bite, I won't go into it in too much detail. The bite and the tongue attacks are the same as... What the hell was the creature you were just talking about?
The Vanderhoff.
The Vanderhoff.
Yeah, it's very similar.
They follow the same rules. If you draw it in with the tongue, and then you can, as a bonus action, you can use a bite attack. And then, of course, you're swallowed from there. So same strategy would be for me, or tactic strategy.
Yeah.
Different. Same tactic would be swallowing and fuck off. Because the Froghemoth really just wants food, right? The Froghemoth doesn't have a grudge against the party. It's like, that one will do. Off I go.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that if the Bullywugs can control it somehow, then absolutely give it an agenda.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
What's that?
Every other
Swallow
thing.
Swallow is a different entry in the mechanics.
Here is part of bite.
Yeah, I think that's because they know that if you're using a Froghemoth, it's because you want to eat people. That's the thing about it, right?
Fair enough.
So it's their big claim to fame is that they're going to eat people.
Now, we have faced a Froghemoth in one of Adam's games.
Yeah, we did a one-shot. You guys were level 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And you ran up against one of these guys, and the only thing you could do was goddamn run.
Yeah.
And Dan nearly didn't make it.
I was trying to distract it because we were trying to empty an orphanage that it was attacking.
I made my magic swan ship and floated away.
Yeah, but Dan was like, I'll distract it, and it distracted for one round. Dan was grappled, and then it kept coming.
Yeah.
So distracting this thing, I feel like you need to use dancing lights.
Yeah.
Right? You're not...
I would say that they maybe don't have too much of an agenda because they're unaligned, which means... I guess the argument would be neutral, would be they don't really give a shit either way. But if they're unaligned, it suggests that they don't have a particular agenda.
They're in for the food.
Yeah.
So I would definitely use a Froghemoth. Like, they're a big, ugly threat, yes. But I would say that they are the inconvenience that someone throws at the party as a distraction.
They're like protecting the underwater.
Well, I wouldn't even say they are offensive in my opinion. Like, you throw a Froghemoth at somebody, the Froghemoth isn't sitting there protecting you for any reason.
Yeah.
Right? So I would have like a Froghemoth attack a town to be a distraction to for all of our Bullywugs to sneak into the bank and steal stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's why I would. That's how I would use a Froghemoth.
Yeah. Let's cut to the... Are you done, Terry? Is there anything else you'd like to do? All right,
done.
Let's cut to a shout-out. But first, I want to talk about the giveaway.
Sure, go for it.
We're still running the giveaway. Then the giveaway is amazing, and you guys all need to jump in on this. We are not telling anybody what you need to do except on air. So you are some of the lucky few, and I know that most of you haven't done this yet. So get off your lazy asses, or give yourself a notice in your car so you'll remember when you get into your job, because most of you listen to this on the way to work. And I'm telling you right now, join the giveaway. There's only been a handful of people that have done it so far, so your chances are really, really freaking good. And you're going to get a shit ton of swag. So here's what you need to do. You need to focus on each one of the three of us. I'm sorry in advance. And you need to think about the race, class, and background that each of us are. Let us know what we would be and why based on the D&D race, class, and background. And don't be lazy. And when we see that Dan is a half-orc barbarian, we're just going to throw that right out the window.
Yeah.
Right? We want unique...
This is fantasy race, class, and background. Don't just say Dan's a white carpenter from Vancouver. That's not the game.
I mean, I guess he is, though.
Yeah.
I am.
Anyway,
I'm like radiant white.
If you were any more white, you'd be clear.
Yeah. No.
So
the sun hits me in certain angles and I disappear.
Yeah. I pass in front of a microwave and I get a 3rd-degree burn.
Yeah, you me both, bud.
So anyway, Terry, you're not much better. We're all pretty bad on this.
I know.
But
I'm all right.
Anyway, so let us know what you think we are. You can reach us on Instagram at It's a Mimic, on Twitter at It's a Mimic D&D, or through email. You can reach us at info@itsamimic.com. And I don't know if you guys are checking out our website, but definitely check it out, itsamimic.com. We love to see the traffic coming through there and see you guys interact with kind of the stuff that we have up and running right now. So we've always got a couple of new things that you may not be quite aware of going on there. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Terry, do you have a shout out?
I do. I want to shout out Just a Little Nerd. No?
Yep.
That's her name. That's her Instagram handle. That I'm not just talking about a general nerd out there. Just a Little Nerd, who is also the DM for Roll for Damage. No, I'm not just saying words incorrectly like Dan. Dame.
Wolf.
As in a female lady, DAAM, Roll for Damage. Just a Little Nerd is their DM. I like her account because she has a mix of nerdy stuff, goofy stuff, and kind of like glamour stuff, like fashion stuff as well. So she kind of throws her personality in with being kind of goofy and with some nerdy stuff. And their game runs Tuesday nights. It's East Coast. It's in Toronto, I believe.
Yeah.
Tuesday nights, 8 to 11 Eastern time.
I always love to see more Canadians playing.
Yeah.
Right? And so...
There's 6 of us now.
Yeah.
There's just a Little Nerds group, but there's the 3 of us.
Roll for Damage is all girls, right? In Toronto.
That's correct.
So,
The one thing I love about it is you guys are catching the turn of phrase in her Instagram, like Just a Little Nerd. Her name's Lily. It's her
No,
name.
that's because she's...
no, you're reading too much into this, Dan.
Yeah.
No, it's
That
Lily.
makes-
No.
No.
So, it's...
I know that to be false.
It's JUS, like French juice.
Yeah.
It's juice Talil .nerd is what it is.
And I, being fluent en français, can confirm that JUS means juice.
But anyway, that is just JUSTALIL .nerd.
That's correct.
Her name's Lily.
Yep. Anyway,
Coincidence.
and apparently she loves the D and D. It's right in her freaking thing. I'm not making that up. I'm not making that up. Yeah, you thought I was fucking around.
For those of you at home, my mouth dropped open and I gave Adam the "What the fuck are you doing?" face.
Be nice to
And then he was
girl.
like, "It's in her bio," and I was like, "That's correct. It is in her bio."
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
She's like one of the most real people on Instagram. Like I really appreciate her Instagram feed and everything else.
Also,
Yeah, I'm pretty real.
oh yeah. Also, the It's a Mimic people are pretty real.
Some of us are.
Back to Adam.
Dan, you suck a nut.
My God, it sounds like he's talking about like nuts and legumes and stuff, Dan. But he's actually suggesting that as a hobby, you actually like to suck on testicles.
I'm not even suggesting.
Not even both of them,
I'm
just
I'm
one.
straight up stating it openly in the public domain for everyone to understand.
Oh.
Anyway, I want to know.
It's more than a hobby. You get paid for what you do good at.
That's what that words. It's like you've got a mouthful of.
We just ruined Just a Little
Words.
Nerd. Just a Little Nerd. That's your shout out. That's what you get from us.
Yeah, you can yell at Danny's at Oscar_the_orc.
With K's, we have to explain every fucking time.
God damn it. Anyway,
Dan is like
I love
my
you.
favorite person
I love you
in
guys
the
so
world.
much.
so let's get back to
God.
Bullywugs, because believe it or not, there's more to talk about. What themes,
Not
tones,
just you, Bully Wugs.
what themes, tones, and tiers are you focusing on for a Bullywug campaign? How do you use it in the campaign? Not just in the counter, a whole freaking campaign. Let's roll initiative, guys.
What does mine say? I can't see.
You're a
because of the
4.
Frog humor. I'm a 4 again.
I'm an 8. Dan is a
I'm a
16.
4 again.
Yeah, you're a 4 again. Daniel?
This is some bullshit.
My
against
Some
everybody.
bully shit?
my
It's 'cause I'm an
Bullywug
immigrant.
my Bullywug campaign is honestly, man, like I see Bullywugs, I think Zelda. Right? I think of the Zoras from Ocarina of Time.
I like his sword.
Zelda's a he?
90% of the nerds out there are with me. The other 10% are you two assholes. Anyways,
Apparently there's only 20 nerds in the fucking world. That's how that math broke down, you wiener.
anyways,
God.
so I would be running Bullywugs, not so much because they're fairly weak when it comes to actually being a threat. I would run them as NPCs and allies who are
They're evil.
so like if you have devils in some campaigns tasking a good party to do things. You have demons in good campaigns tasking the
Yeah, but
party
I'm
to do
assuming
things.
that those are
You have-
deceptive, right?
You have goblins who are innately evil, who are PCs and whatnot. Using their evil doesn't mean you can't use them. At least trying to
You might have a common
Use-
interest, right?
use the party for a common interest to help them build their wealth. Their entire thing is to build their wealth. So give them a small tribe of Bullywugs who is being bullied by a
What?
bigger
Oh.
tribe of Bullywugs, and they're asking the party to help. They might just have that one Bullywug that actually put in the time to read the book of magic or what they got that they got as a gift from one of their lower rung Bullywugs, so they actually can speak a base amount of common. And they use that guy as the connection point to your party, and they are trying to get your party's help to take down this massive Bullywug tribe that has multiple froghemoths with it, and like is aligned with some hags that are creating these Vanderhoffs to send out or whatnot. So I would try to use them, use the comedy, use them as NPCs that your party can support and build up and go and make them good. Why not? Make them Zoras rather than hanging this weight over their head as evil. So that's me.
All right, I was next. So the way that I would do a Bullywug campaign is I would start it off really simple and easy, where you have your starting village, and there are Bullywugs out in the neighboring swampland. And this is pretty standard stuff. Instead of goblins, you're fighting the Bullywugs here and there. And then mid-tier 2, you find out that these bastards have got a Vanderhoff that's just come out, murdered the mayor, and now you're going back after them, right? So they somehow got a Vanderhoff involved. And when you go there, you realize that this is not just Bullywugs. The Bullywug Royal is a cult leader. And the Croakers are chanting. And they are bringing a froghemoth through a portal into the world. And when you stop this from happening or kill the froghemoth, right, and you would have some advantages on this because it's going to come into this world and be confused, and they're not going to really be able to control it right away. When you stop this whole thing and realize that their Messiah, their chosen one, the thing that they've brought in to give them all of the power has been stopped or killed or destroyed, then they will be so freaking mad that they will chase you down en masse. So there are 4 tiers of this. Within the 2-tier system, there's 4 levels. So you have your like raiding party, early levels. Then the Vanderhoff drags everybody out to put an end to the Bullywugs. Then you have the Froghemoth, and then you've got to run back to the town, and you've got a Night of the Living Dead scenario where there is a horde of 1,000 Bullywugs trying to get in. Now you're going to have your chain lightning stuff and your storms and whatnot. You're going to be high tier 2. At this point, so you can have some decent spells, some decent weapons and whatnot. How good is it going to feel to just mow down 40 of these things every round? Mm-hmm. Right? When you throw 600 Bullywugs at the town gate, right? And you can run a siege with these CR quarter creatures.
And then you have to do the whole, like, multiple session build up where even if you know that they're on their way, you have to figure out how do you build a palisade against something that could jump 20 feet vertically.
Yeah, right. And I think they can only go 10 feet vertically and 20 feet long.
Yeah.
But they can go 10 feet vertically up the wall, hold on, and go another 10 feet.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that they're going to come in, their cavalry's going to be on giant toads. Right? They're going to have a couple of Vanderhoffs with them waiting through, and maybe even they've blown all the rest of their magical items, and they've pulled in 3 or 4 Froghemoths that are slowly coming in the distance. Right? And you have a siege now. This is only going to last you till tier 2, and this is a distraction from your overarching, level 20 campaign. But you can get a good solid 6, 8, 10 sessions of Bullywugs thrown in there, and the players will never see it coming because they're expecting goblins or kobolds or orcs or gnolls or skeletons or zombies or one of these other mobs. They're not going to see this.
Because they don't take the Bullywug seriously. Right?
Nobody takes it seriously. And even early on, they're sitting there going, I need to get this magical pearl and give it to my prince so that he likes me better. Right? And that's it. That's all that you've got going on here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, no, wait a minute, they're a freaking cult and they're putting out hits and they've got an army and holy shit, it's a siege. And you can just destroy these things en masse. And it'll feel really good to do that.
But also, it's a new style threat, something which is never taken seriously on a larger scale. Mine was very similar, essentially very similar thing. I was thinking a large sort of scale warfare like that, but for races that we don't see very often, such as Bullywugs, I would maybe have Bullywugs and lizard folk doing a territorial type of battle, trying to work that way.
I like that.
But also, I imagine them to be the creatures where they're not going to have their own machines and contraptions and siege weapons. They're going to use other creatures. The Froghemoths are going to be their siege weapons when they're making this attack. It's going to be kind of like, what the fuck was Jar Jar Binks? What even is he? Where they're doing their shit on Naboo and they're doing that.
Yeah. And they've got the big
I just
dinosaur-looking
kind
guys.
of like that,
I really don't want to acknowledge
Bullywugs riding giant crocodiles. I'm all over that. Send them into battle. Fuck, it's D&D. Do what you want. So they found a Hydra somewhere. He's all over it. Bring him too. Whatever.
Yeah. I actually really like that. They've got a Froghemoth, then you've got lizard men or giant crocodiles. It's amphibians versus lizards.
Yeah.
As a territorial battle, and you get stuck in the middle.
And so you're seeing all of the similar type strategies that we see when people are using siege weapons and the elves and dwarves and humans are fighting, but with these interesting races that are approaching it a little bit differently.
If one of your players comes to the table saying, I want to make a lizard folk character, this is your in, right?
Yeah.
That's a fantastic way to
This is your in. Yeah, especially if he has a party that's loyal that wants to stay with that character, but that character has been called to action. And to bring returned to their village or whatever to their people.
I really think we have to lean on the guerrilla warfare aspect. It's something that we've all kind of said about.
Yeah, definitely. It should be like fucking Vietnam in that swamp.
Yeah, I said Ewoks earlier, but I really do mean that. Like these guys, they're stealthy, they're hiding, and they're coming in en masse. When they've got a spear and they've got a throw range on it, they all need to have 6 spears, right, or stashes of them up in the trees and shit.
They're not academically book smart, but they know what they're doing. Also, you talked earlier about tree frogs, and that got me thinking about if they were poisoning their weapons, but not in a poison damage type of way, but in how is it going to affect you? It's going to get you
poison condition.
You're going to get a little trippy. You know, things are going to.
There's a hallucination factor.
Well, I did that with Dan before when he had D&D Edible in the Wizard's Tower, and you got advantage on everything: intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and disadvantage on all of the physical stats.
I won't even play D&D without eating edibles.
Oh my god, it's much more
Trust
engaging.
me, we know. We're planning an intervention.
Half an hour in, you're like, I'm not feeling anything. I'm going to eat the whole thing.
And I look around and you guys just aren't there and the whole thing was a hallucination.
So
I'm sitting there in my underwear at
just
home.
You and this Froghemoth mini.
Yeah. It's a dead frog.
The thing I would hazard against doing is if you are going to use tree frogs, those are grungs. Grungs are your tree frogs. Bullywugs aren't so much. And grungs have poison attacks. Grungs have other things. They've got their entire other culture to them. If you want tree frogs...
In that instance, I see what you're saying. In that instance, what I just suggested there, I would do...
what you do is you get the Bullywugs to work with the grungs. There's no reason why they can't.
Yeah, the same way that you can get your lizard folk to work with the U1T.
Yeah, right? So bring them in.
Reptiles versus amphibians.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so good.
The thing with grungs is grungs are just the halfling to a Bullywugs human. Right? Like they're just the smaller versions with...
More or less, yes. We'll cover them in a future episode.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I feel like when I sat down, I'm like, hey, this is going to be a really quick episode. It's going to be 25 minutes long.
Yeah.
Fuck Bullywugs, right?
Do you know what? I'm all over this guerrilla warfare thing, and I also like the idea of the reptile side, but send the kobolds in as almost like the
shock troopers?
Bomb disposal.
The bomb disposal.
For like the traps. For the Bullywug traps. They're like crawling forwards because they know traps. Oh my god.
You know you're getting close to the...
Frederick, write this down.
You're getting
We
close.
fired Frederick.
Oh,
yeah,
shit,
it's back to David.
Daffod was just here the whole time.
Yeah, he doesn't leave. Like, we tried firing him. He's just not leaving.
He sleeps behind Dan's couch. He's an intern. We don't pay him. He can't pay rent.
No.
So...
But what I would do for this is, have the kobolds, you're getting closer to the battle because you see, kobolds on, bamboo spiked walls and stuff that are just pasted.
Yeah, because they're the bomb disposal team.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it.
They're countermining all of the traps. Oh, but then just the battle as the enemy forces are coming closer, just the croaks and stuff coming over.
I also love the idea of the Bullywug. We didn't talk about where they live. I think their lairs are these sinkholes in mud.
Yeah.
They are
dark,
muck, dank. Yeah.
Terrifying.
And
in dirty water as well. So you disappear in there, you never see it
not
again.
tunnels necessarily, but caves that go down. Yeah. I'm thinking almost you've seen crabs and stuff burrow their way down into sand on the beach. I'm thinking frogs doing that too, right?
Yeah. And honestly, if none of these campaign ideas work, go or sound interesting, try the horror aspect.
Terror, fright.
The scary aspect, right? These things play very nicely into that idea of dread. They pull on this otherworldly aspect a little bit because of their amphibious nature. A lot of good horror is wet and gross and
moist.
You got to pay
moist,
more for those ones.
Right?
Speaking of my favorite bands from the 90s, Moist.
I fucking love them.
Anyway, do you not know what we're talking about?
No, I don't want to listen to them based on the word.
Oh, you're wrong. They're fantastic.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, and Vancouver based too, I believe.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So, one of the things
David Usher, right?
Yeah, it is. But I guess kind of my last point that I would say is leaning into this idea of the frightful, scary. Don't use the word bullywug. Go with frogmen, right? Or the raids from the swamp people, or whatever it is. Because a simple reflavoring is all you need to make this scary.
And do the people that live in the village by the swamp really know their technical name? Either what are they calling them to their children and stuff?
Well, they don't speak common. Everything speaks bullywug, right? So there's no commonality there. You hear the croaking and the ribbits from the distance.
Yeah.
And then they get louder and louder and louder, and when you wake up the next morning, your children are gone.
Yeah.
Right? Robbed out of the cradles, and your whole place has been ransacked. So I don't know. I think these guys, I started to say before, I didn't think there was a whole lot to them. There's actually a shit ton of flavor, and I desperately want 5th Ed to provide 4 or 5 more kinds, like we get with gnolls and orcs.
Because they're not being taken seriously, and they should. We can do great things with them. And do you know what? I need to see a kobold bomb disposal team fighting bullywugs.
I feel like that's going to be one of your answers when we finally get around to kobold mobs.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyways, any final thoughts, guys, before we end this?
Not from me, chaps. But hey, I appreciate you both.
I do too. Sometimes.
Dan, we're trying to finish on a positive note.
Yeah, I love you too, Terry.
Thank you, Adam.
So,
Dan, do you love me?
I do. After you, Adam.
Anyway, so what we're doing here is ending the goddamn episode before I have to confess anything to Dan. It's going to get awkward. This has been another episode of It's a Mimic, where we covered all sorts of shit about the 3 different types of bullywugs. Again, if you're like, where do I find these other types? It's from the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which is the newest book. This is the summer of 2019, obviously. There's also the Froghemus and the Vanderhoff. They were both in Mordenkainen's. Am I getting that right? No, they're both in Volos.
I think they're both in Volos.
That makes sense to me. So, anyway, there are some great options here. And don't be afraid to use the frogs and giant toads and everything as flavor and setting and environment. We don't do enough things in swamps in D&D.
No.
It's all forests or jungles or coasts or plains. Let's get into the swamplands.
Yeah.
So let's go around the table and give our personal info. Dan, where can we reach you?
At Oscar the Orc with all underscores and Ks.
Terry, how we doing?
How we do? I'm doing pretty good. How are you
All
doing?
right. I'm fine, thank you.
Wait till the end of the episode to ask that. I am at SendNoobsDND. That is Instagram. Get me on Twitter as well, SendNoobsDND, but I'm not on there very often.
And you can get me at Rusty Styrofoam. You can also get any one of the 3 of us, depending on the given day, at It's a Mimic on Instagram or at It's a Mimic D&D on Twitter. Or you can email us at info@itsamimic.com and check out our website. Thanks very much for listening, and we will catch you next week. What are we doing next week, guys? We're back to Dungeon Mastery.
Yeah!
Yep.
Speciality of mine. Merci, bonne nuit.
Real quick, they're both in Volos.
Are they both in Volos?
They're both in Volos.
Thank you for clarifying that,
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks very much, and we will talk to you next week.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Lewin.
Thank you for listening to It's a Mimic. Check us out online at itsamimic.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have questions you would like answered by the guys on the show? Send them an email to itsamimic@gmail.com. Tune in every Tuesday for more.
Speaking of Canada.
Fuck off, Dan.
Oh, Canada.
So my big thing was that there's a croaker or kind of bullywug that sings across. That's where I was going with the segue, and you just fucking... You're welcome. God. Fuck. I do love you, though, Dan.
I love you too, Adam. Just don't touch me.
Well, that's what my love is based upon.